I guess first we will introduce baby Brayden, and we wanted to thank everybody for all their name suggestions. But we went with, I knew he was going to do that. We went with Brayden David Delator. So here he is. Say hey.
No.
He's tired. He just ate. Hey everyone. So many of you know that I have been gone off YouTube for like a little over a month now. But I needed to take a maternity leave from YouTube just because it was a lot trying to make YouTube videos, work full time, and then, you know, being pregnant in itself was hard work. So I took a little break from YouTube like during the last little bit of my third trimester of pregnancy, and now that I have delivered my son, I'm ready to get back into recording videos and making content for you all. So I thought that my first video should be to tell you all about my birth experience and my labor and delivery process. So that's what David and I are gonna talk about in this video. I do want to go ahead and say that I don't have any footage from my birth just because it was a lot, and
hectic a little bit.
Yeah, and it was just hard to think about recording because the only thing I could focus on was getting through the contractions, getting through labor, and then delivering my son. Like, that was literally my main focus, and I was a completely different person in labor, so the thought of recording really didn't come across my mind much. So I can't be as great as some of these other YouTubers and offer you, you know, the inside scoop on, you know, my delivery because I don't have any footage. But I still can share my experience with you all. So, and many of you have asked me, was I going to do a video on my labor and delivery? So I decided that we could just go ahead and share our experience. So many of you know that I'm a nurse and I work in the mother baby, like kind of between labor and delivery and postpartum and in the nursery. Excuse me. And from time to time I'm in the NICU. So I work night shift.
Need some water? Trying to throw that in this girl.
But anyway, I was saying is that I work night shift, and so this was Friday morning, May 6th. I just got off work. I get home, I'm tired. I was supposed to work that night, and so I came home, took a shower, and basically just got in bed. And David wasn't here because he worked that day. Well, was working that day, and he's already gone by the time I get home. So I FaceTimed him and we talked for a little bit, and I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna text you when I get up. And I was like, I gotta go to sleep, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, and I really want to get some rest before tonight's shift. So I kid you not, we got off the phone and I think my eyes were closed for maybe 15 minutes. Like maybe 15 minutes. So 8:45, it was like 8 in the morning, and I started having pain. Like, I was almost into a good sleep, like literally almost into that good sleep, and my eyes open. I was like, hold up, this isn't what I've been feeling. And so I was like, okay, well, let me, you know, switch positions. Let me see if they go away. So I waited for that pain to go away. I turned over to my right side and it was coming again. I was like, okay, well, let me go and pee, you know, empty my bladder and then come back, relax. Didn't go away. I was like, well, let me drink some water. Maybe I'm dehydrated. Drink some water, and nothing was making them go away. So I don't know, I want to say I had like 3 or 4 in a 30-minute period, and I just text David and I was like, can you call me?
So I called her quick. I was hoping he was gonna come that day because I wanted to leave work early.
So he calls me like almost immediately, and I'm telling him, I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm having this pain. And I was like, it's a little different from what I've been feeling. I was like, but I don't know if it's real labor. I don't know if it's false labor or not. And he was like, well,
I told her to call the midwife, make sure that she was going into labor so I could leave work. That was my big focus, was leaving work early.
And I guess I called the midwife, and she was like, well, this may be true labor. She was like, well, let's just wait a minute. Let's just see if they get stronger and closer together. She's like, let's just see if they get stronger and closer together, and then call me back. And if they haven't gone away by lunchtime, then come in and I will check you. So.
Oh, she also wanted somebody there with you.
Yeah, and she was like, and I want somebody there with you. Who's there with you right now? And I was here by myself. Obviously, I just got off work. David wasn't here. Mom's at work, sisters at work. Like, there was nobody here, nobody to call either. So I called David back, and I was like, she wants somebody here with me. Like, find out if you can leave work, and, you know, like, will it count against you if it's not real labor?
Yeah, my manager just told me to go ahead and go home. And if it wasn't real labor, he just told me to come back. But I didn't have any plans on coming back. When I got here, I was excited. I was dancing. I was hoping it was a real thing. I was turned up.
He was way too turned up. Like, I was over here. You know, I was okay at this point in labor. Like, I was fine. I could, you know, I'd have one, and I'd be like, okay, let me focus. And then, you know, when the contraction was over, I could talk. I could communicate.
Yep.
And he was live, and I was like, oh my gosh. I don't know if he's excited because he thinks I'm in labor, or if he's excited because he got to leave work early.
It was both. It was
yeah.
both.
But anyway, so I think David was here for like an hour, maybe 45 minutes, and they were just getting worse, and they were about 5 minutes apart. And I guess another worry I had was I didn't know at what part of labor I was in. I didn't know if I was early labor, late labor, whatever the case may be. And, you know, I wanted to be where I needed to be when the time came. And so they were getting stronger. They were 5 minutes apart.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think we just need to go ahead and go.
Yeah, and that was like at 11 something?
No, I think it was like 10:30-ish.
Oh, okay. It's close.
Yeah.
Then we got there at 11 something?
Yeah, and I think we got there at about 11. And the midwife, she went ahead and checked me after I had a contraction, and she said, I don't know if you want to know how dilated you are, but it's still really early in labor. And I was like, I knew as soon as she said that I couldn't have been dilated much. First of all, she told me I was still really early in labor, and then she said, I don't know if you want to know, which that didn't sound like I was very far along, so I didn't even ask. She was like, I'm just going to let you labor here for an hour, and we'll come back, check you again. So I labored there for about an hour and 30 minutes.
Yeah.
She came back, she checked me, and I want to say my contractions were anywhere between like 5 and 8 minutes apart.
Yeah.
At that point, she came back, she checked me, and she said, okay, so you're 1 centimeter. And my heart, like, it hurt. As soon as she said that, it sank. Like, I was in, to me, what felt like intense pain. And for her to say I was only 1 centimeter, and they were so close together, and I was like, wow, like, I have 9 centimeters to go every 5 minutes with this type of pain. Like how am I going to make it through? How will I survive labor if I'm only 1 centimeter at this point with this type of pain? And so
They have the option of staying there longer, just laboring there longer, going home.
yeah, so basically she was just like, you can stay here if you want and labor here, or you can go home, labor at home. And, you know, David and I decided to go home, and she was like, I think that's best. You know, try to take some Tylenol PM and see if you can sleep through some of them. I'm really worried about you, you know, not having any sleep. And I want you to see if you can get some rest. And in my mind, I slick knew wasn't no rest coming with how painful those contractions were. I'm like, and I was thinking, sleep through. Girl, I'm not going to be able to sleep through this. But I was just like, okay. So get home, take some Tylenol, threw up like 45 minutes later, and I was exhausted and I was hurting. That Tylenol didn't take the edge off anything. Like, it didn't help, not even a smidget. Plus, I think I threw it all up anyway.
Yeah, and then when we got home, she was a completely different person. We really didn't talk after that. No communication, really. She was falling asleep and moaning.
I was exhausted, and so, like, I just remember being on all fours on the bed, my arms supported like on a pillow, and like just moaning through the contractions.
Like, as soon as the contraction stopped, she would snore immediately. And then once one came back, she would start moaning again. And then she wouldn't let me talk at all. I couldn't watch TV with the sound on, so she made me watch a movie with no sound. The subtitles wasn't working. She was just being selfish at that point.
I literally could not handle any type of noise, no touching. Like, it was sensory overload. Like, I could not do it. So it wasn't that I made him watch the movie without sound. It's just that the sound, the noise from the TV bothered me. I just needed it quiet.
So I couldn't have sound on the movie.
And then I was falling asleep in between contractions. It was just crazy.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm surprised nobody called the cops in our apartment complex, because
She was screaming so
yes,
loud.
like, some of the contractions I had to scream at the top of my lungs. So, like, it was a positional type of thing as well. Like, some positions it was easier to get through the contraction than others. So, like, I'd get up to go pee and have a contraction on the toilet, and that is not where I wanted to be. Having a contraction, like, was like absolutely painful, let me tell you. So we ended up laboring here for like
6 hours.
Yeah, about 6 hours, 5 or 6 hours. And
at one point she said she couldn't do it.
Yeah,
and I was like, no, it's too late.
that was early. That was like right when we first got back.
Like, no, it's too
I
late.
was having a contraction,
and
and I was like, I was holding David on his shoulders, and I was like, I can't. I just can't. He was like, yes, you can. Yes, you can. Just breathe through. I was like, no, I can't. He just, like, every contraction, he just tell me, he was breathe. You're doing great. And I was like, no, no, I'm not. Like, I can't do it. It was hard. Like, it was so hard. And I still can't believe that I did it all without any type of pain medication or intervention at all, to be honest. But anyway, so labored here for like 5 hours. And then finally I looked at David's phone, like, after I had fallen asleep and after I had like another contraction, and it said that he was timing them for me, and I looked down at his phone and I saw that they were like 3 minutes apart. And so, what is going on, son?
And the midwife only wanted us to leave for a couple of hours. Then she wants to come back, but kind of stay a little bit longer. No, maybe that needs to be changed.
Maybe so. We'll see. So, I did not want to get into the car. Like, that was one of my biggest fears about leaving, was getting into the car, because I did not want to have any contractions in the car. Like, just to think about sitting in that position and going over bumps in the road and all of that, I was just like, Lord, please help me through it, because the birth center is about 30 minutes away from our house, and so that's a 30-minute car ride when I was having contractions like every 3 minutes. So it really sucked. But I got in the car, we got there, and she checks me and she tells me that I'm 7 centimeters, and I was like, yes, Lord, thank you. Like, to know that I had made that much progress, I was like, thank you. Like, only 3 more centimeters to go, because this is horrible. And to me, the time went by kind of fast when I was in labor, just because I was exhausted and I was falling asleep in between contractions.
Yeah, but it dragged for me. It seemed like it took forever before we
So
left.
yeah, so basically then David starts calling everybody, my mom, telling her
Sister.
so that they could come join us at the birth center because I wanted them there. And I was in so much pain, and I think the midwife realized it, and she was like, let's go ahead and let's get into
The tub.
So I got in the water. I want to say I labored in the water for like an hour.
Yeah, it was a while.
And then she checked me in there and told me that when I felt the urge to push, like start pushing, I really don't know what she was talking about. I just know that I wanted him out. So she told me I could start pushing, and I'm about to start pushing. So I think I pushed for about 30 minutes in the water until I guess she was checking me to see where his head was and realized that I wasn't making any progress. And so she was like, well, let's get out of the water. I'm going to have you push in a different position. And so we get on the bed. She checks me again, and then she lets me know that there's still like a little bit of cervix left. And so she wants me to labor in a different position, and then we're going to push. And I was like, Lord, I'm tired. And I just need him out. Like, please. It was awful, awful, awful. I was so exhausted. And I was just like, Lord, am I going to be able to have the strength to push? Because, like, I was running on 0 energy. I hadn't eaten anything. The most I did was drink liquids.
A bunch of water.
Yeah.
A little Gatorade here and there.
So I labored for, I don't know, maybe 15 or 20 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, without pushing. It was in like 3 contractions.
And they were horrible contractions. Even though he says there were just 3, it felt like it was like 30. Like, it was just so painful, those last couple ones. And then finally, you know, she laid me down on the bed. David was on my left side. And
your mom's on your right.
Yeah. Well, she wasn't at first. Like, at first, it was just David, and they had one of the midwives, had one of my legs up. The nurse was on the other side, and, like, every time I had a contraction, they wanted me to push. And I'm telling y'all, with every push, tears was just streaming out my eyes. Like, it was so hard to push over the pain of the contractions. It was just so hard to push in general because you have to push with literally every muscle in your body. Like, it was intense. And I think when she realized that I was losing it, she told my mom to come around on the other side. So David was on my left, my mom was on my right. Mom was holding my hand, and I just remember looking at her, shaking my head, just crying. And she was like, let's get ready for the next one. And I mean, I pushed and pushed. I think I pushed for an hour.
I don't know how long it was. It seemed forever though.
I think it was an hour. I pushed for an hour, and finally, like, he started to crown. And she's like, reach down and feel his head. And I'm like, arms shaking, touching his head. And I'm like, okay, let's come on, let's get him out. Honestly, I really didn't want to touch his head because I was just wanting him to get out. Like, I wanted to just keep pushing so he could get out. That's what I wanted. But finally, after laboring all day, at 10:03, he was born. 7 pounds, 10 ounces.
20.5 inches.
And just as beautiful as ever.
Yeah.
And so, I don't think I could have made it through without David, like, by my side. Like, he helped me so much during labor. Like, even though when the pain started getting serious, we didn't talk as much. It was his presence. Like, it was his presence, his feel, just his encouragement. It really meant a lot to me, even though in the moment I couldn't thank him for that. But, you know, I was able to thank him when it was all said and done. And, I mean, everybody was in the room just crying. My sister, my mom's crying. They put him in they're like, reach down and grab your baby. And I just grabbed him, and I just, like, just thinking about it now just makes me, like, so emotional. Just because it's just, like, one of the
long journey.
Yes, it was a long journey, and
Yeah. And she did so good. Like, I couldn't have done it. So I'm just glad I'm a guy. Because she did so great. Through all the pain, she still pushed and didn't give up. And she didn't have any sleep. And for her to still go through, she's just so strong and great.
It's a miraculous thing, like childbirth is. And to have gone through it without any pain medication, any intervention, just naturally. And then, like, to have him in the end and to be able to reach down, grab him, and hold him immediately. It was beautiful. I was crying.
I cried a little.
David was crying.
Yeah.
His face was all red. You know, light-skinned people. But it's an incredible feeling to...
Oh, yeah. Her hair was messed up, so she don't want nobody posting me pictures.
It was, y'all, it was busted.
Yeah, it was trash.
First, let me go to the fact that...
My hair was still good, though.
They had me thinking that, like, early labor was going to be, like, a little bit easier, and that, you know, do a project, tell everybody to do a project, or think of a project that you want to do for early labor. So my project, ooh, I'm going to take my weave out, do my hair. That wasn't happening. And had I known that I wasn't going to be able to do it myself, I would have just asked David to at least take my braids down while I was in labor. But dang, I mean,
I would have had a right to.
My weave looked like a bird's nest. Like,
yeah, it was pretty terrible.
I can't even begin to tell y'all how bad it looked. Like, in the pictures, I was like, good Lord, like, I literally look like somebody just whooped my ass in a fight. Like, that's really how I look. Like they drugged me all through the parking lot by my weave. That's how it looks to me. But nevertheless, it's okay because I have those memories for myself and for my family. And no, I will not share them with you because I'm just not going to. So, anyway. But yeah, he is acting hungry. So since he's a greedy butt, I'm going to go ahead and feed him. But yeah, I think that's it. So, until next time.